Hello everybody, my name is Abdul and I am delighted to present this tutorial on behalf of Pilates for Wellbeing. In today's tutorial, I am going to take you through an efficient system which will help you balance your posture in a simple and safe way. A good posture gives you good muscle balance, increased range of motion, reduced risk of injury and overall good health. So, there are quite a lot of benefits of having a good posture. Now, we are going to get started by standing as we stand normally. So, think about no one has asked you to correct your posture and just stand. Right. Now, take a moment and see where your weight is. Is it equal on both the legs or are you overloading one leg more than the other? Now, typically for most of us the weight will be more on one of the leg than the other. Now, we want to start by balancing this imbalance out. So, bring the feet towards each other and see if you feel a little more balance with the weight distribution on the legs. I feel, at least in my case, like I am now a bit more balanced. Now, when we are standing with the feet together, two things can happen. One is your knees can jam into each other, which is called knock knees, or you may feel like there is a huge distance that gets created between your inner thighs. So, that is called bow legs. So, the next thing we want to do is balance this imbalance out. So, what we can, the simplest thing we can do is we can take a cushion or a yoga block and place it between the ankles, and that should help you balance the bow leg and the knock knees out. Now, from here the next thing we are going to observe is the weight more on the heels or on the balls of the feet. So, if it is on the heels, transfer some weight onto the balls of the feet, and if it is on the balls of the feet, transfer some weight onto the heel. Now, continue transferring the weight onto the balls of the feet and then back onto the heel by leaning forward and back without lifting the toes or the heels off the mat. Now, after few reps, you will feel like you are standing on your arches or the center of your foot. That means the weight is equally distributed in this direction. Now, the next thing we want to observe is, are we pressing the big toe, the little toe into the floor? So, for some of us we may be totally on the big toe side, for some of us we may be totally on the little toe side. So, we want to balance that out. So, consciously press the big toe, little toe and the center of the heel onto the mat, and you will automatically feel your arches getting lifted. So, this is the standing position that we want to achieve to have that posture alignment working right from the foot. Now, the next thing we are going to do is we are going to move up and see what is happening with the knee. Now, first thing we are going to do is just squat a bit from your hip crease and then come back up to straighten the knee. Once more, inhale, squat, and exhale, straighten the knee, and this time observe as you straighten the knee, do you jam into your knees to straighten the knee. Once more, inhale and exhale, straighten the knee. In case you are jamming into your knees when you are straightening your legs, that means you have something called locked knees. So, you are loading your joints a bit too much. So, what we want to do is just micro bend the knee. So, from the side posture, this is locked knees. So, see how my knees are jammed. Now, what I want to do is I just want to micro bend it so that I come out of those joints and then start using the muscle around those joints to stand myself up. Right. Now, from here, toes are pointing forward, knees are pointing forward, we are standing equally on, we are putting the equal weight on the big toe, little toe, center of the heel, the knee is soft, we move up and then we come on to the hips. Now, in an ideal position, the hip the pubic bone and the ASIS bone needs to be vertical. So, your hip needs to be vertical to the floor, but for many of us either we have an arched back or a posteriorly tilted back. So, we want to balance that out so that we are not in any of that position. So, what we are going to do is, if we are in an arched back, we are going to tip the pelvis or the hip slightly forward, right, to get the lumbar spine in its normal curvature. And if we are totally tucked, we are just going to release that a tiny bit so that the spine comes into its normal curvature. Now, once we have balanced the hip out, the next thing we are going to do is we are going to move up into the stomach. So, what we are going to do is we are going to take the stomach in and up without changing anything here. So, the rib cage is not going to pop, the shoulders are not going to shrug, just take the stomach in and up to support the spine with the stomach. Right. Now, from here, once we have taken the stomach in and up, This is the bottom of the rib cage and this is the top of the hip. Now, there is a space between these where a lot of internal organs exist. Now, we want to work to create the space between the top of the hip and the bottom of the rib cage by lifting the rib cage away from the top of the hip without popping the chest or without popping the chest or shrugging the shoulders. So, the tendency will be to shrug the shoulders to lift it up and pop the chest forward. So, we are going to keep everything in and then create more space between the rib cage and the hip bone. Now, once we have created the rib cage and the hip bone, we move on to the shoulder and just slide the shoulder blades towards each other. So, for many of us the shoulder level will not be in the same level, maybe because we are holding the phone like this, or we are always keeping the bag on one of the shoulder than the other. So, there will be some imbalance, which is fine, but just try to slide the shoulder blades towards each other. That will help you activate your upper back. Now, from here we move up, we move to the chin. So, get the chin parallel to the floor. So, some of us may have forward neck. So, the neck is forward, the chin is pressing out. So, think about your neck as a straw and your head as a pouring jar. So, we want to place the head directly over the straw. So, if your neck is forward, you may just want to get your neck back so that it is directly aligned with your head is directly aligned with the neck. Now, once you have got all this in place, you will see that your ear is over your shoulder is over your hip is over the knee, and the knee is over the center of the arch. So, this is what is called a plumb line position that we want to achieve in terms of normal human body. So, these are the few things that you can assess yourself in your body and then take remedy. Now, I am going to share with you some sitting on a chair tips that you can use to just have your posture in position while you are sitting and doing your work. So, typically when we sit, many of us have the tendency to cross our legs like this. It could be in various ways. So, what happens if we sit cross leg? One of the hip takes more weight than the other. So, one hip is lifted while the other hip is pressing down into the chair, and thereby creating that imbalance in the hip. So, what we want to do is we want to uncross the leg and place both the feet firmly on the floor. In case your feet is not able to reach the floor, you may just want to place a cushion or something to get the floor up to you and then place the feet on top of them. In case you want to cross your legs, then just cross your ankle. That will help you balance the things out in a much better way. Now, this I have observed in male clients. Some of them have a tendency to keep a purse in the back pockets, and keeping the purse in the back pockets gives the same imbalance. So, you may want to remove all the purse that you have in your back pockets. Now, the next thing we want to observe is where we are sitting. So, I want you to imagine your hip bone, or your hip is like a ball which is filled completely with water. Now, you have to sit in certain way that not even a drop of water slips out of that bowl. So, if you are sitting way back, that means the water will slip out. If you are sitting way forward, that means the water will still slip out. So, you want to find a position wherein your hip is very vertical to the chair, so that nothing spills out of that bowl which is fully filled with water. So, you will be somewhere in the middle of the chair, neither all the way back, neither all the way forward, somewhere in the middle of the chair. Now, from this position, take the belly in and up to support the spine. Now, take the rib cage away from the hips as much as you can without popping your chest, and keep the shoulders relaxed. Now, think about your head, your neck is like a straw and head is like a pouring jar which is placed over that straw, and then think that there is a string which is connected to the crown of the head, and that string is pulled up to suspend the spine. So, that should automatically create some more inches in your body. So, this is typically how you want to sit on a day-to-day basis to keep your spine in the right alignment. Thank you.